What's going on, YouTube world? This is your guy, Sealz the man. Thank you for coming back to my video. Thank you for coming back to my channel. And most of all, thank you for rocking with me, man. I truly appreciate that. One of the most powerful forms of communication, one of the most intrusive ways to communicate, one of the best ways to figure out and find out and get to know someone are questions. I love questions. In fact, one of my most popular videos, probably my most popular video on my channel, is about the questions a man will ask in a certain situation. So if you haven't watched that, check it out. Questions are the gateways to the mind. So never fret, never avoid asking questions. But there are ways to ask questions. That's a whole nother science. But today I'm gonna talk about the questions that a man who is interested in you will ask you. But they're interesting type of questions because they're very specific, yet not too direct. They're begging for an answer that gives a story. But there's a reason why a man who is interested in you will ask you these type of questions. And it is more so for him. So I'm gonna give you 5 specific questions that a man who is interested in you will ask you, and the meaning and the mindset behind why he's asking you, and what this is doing for him because he is interested in you. All right, but before I start, make sure you follow your internet brother Sealz the man on all platforms. Like, comment, subscribe, you know the spiel. And as always, thank you for your support. Let's get straight to it. The first question I'm gonna bring up, and I want to ask you if your man, your good fella, has ever asked you any of these types of questions or any of these questions. Let me know in the comment section below. All right, first question: what was the reason for your recent breakup? What was the reason for your last divorce? Now, some people may think this is just a conversation filler, just something to talk about in a conversation and getting to know someone, but it's deeper than that when it comes to men who is interested in you. There is more than meets the eye when it comes to this type of question. A man who is interested in you is going to ask you this question because 1, he wants to figure out if you have any red flags. 2, he wants to figure out if you have any accountability. And 3, he wants to know what you are recovering from. All 3 of those are important when it comes to a man evaluating your situation, evaluating you in general. He wants to know why you broke up or why you had a recent divorce, because he wants to see if you have any serious red flags that led to your breakup and divorce. And if so, he's going to want to avoid that. So he wants to know before anything gets serious. So instead of asking, do you have red flags? He's going to ask you, what was the reason for your breakup? 2, he wants to see if you're accountable. Now, I've seen this and heard this myself. When you have conversations with different women, you ask them, yeah, what was the reason for your last breakup? Or what was the reason for your last divorce? A lot of them, in my experience, did not hold self-accountability. A lot of them said, oh, it was him. He did this. He said this. He was acting like this. But it was rare for me to hear a woman say, you know what? I played a part in my divorce. You know what? I wasn't mature enough in that part of my life and in that time of my life to sustain a healthy relationship. You know what? I've been through some trauma, and I kind of brought that trauma into my relationship with him, and it just didn't work out. In my experience, it has been rare for me to hear a woman hold some type of accountability when it comes to her previous relationship, breakup, and divorce. Accountability to a real man, a good man, is a pillar. It's a pillar of confidence for him because he knows you are more likely not to play the blame game when things go wrong in your relationship, that y'all are in it together, that y'all are going to do it together. Accountability is important. And the third thing I mentioned, he wants to know what you're recovering from. Even if you're running from something, what are you healing from? How deep that breakup or that divorce got to you? How real is your damage, if you have any? He wants to know those things because in order for him to work with you, he needs to know what is hurting you. Just because something is in the past doesn't mean it stops hurting you. In fact, one of the biggest pains in life is from the past. So that is why a man who is interested in you is going to ask you, what was the reason for your last breakup? The reason for your last divorce. The next question that a man who is interested is going to ask you, do you remember when I mentioned to you? Do you remember that important date that I told you about? Do you remember? Sidebar, I started cracking myself up because I started to think about the Michael Jackson song, Do You Remember? My bad, that's just who I am, I'm sorry. But getting back to this, he's going to ask you, do you remember? Because he wants to see how much you care. He wants to see if you're listening to him. He wants to see if you are attentive in y'all conversations, if you're actually paying attention, if you want to be present in y'all conversations. He wants to know if you're taking them seriously. Because as we all know, if you're not interested in someone, or if you truly don't want someone, you're not going to take the conversation seriously. You're not going to pay attention. You're not going to take in the things this person says to you because you just do not care. You're not interested. So when he asks you questions that, do you remember? He's trying to gauge your interest in him, your real true, genuine interest in him. Because if you remember the little things, the medium things, the big things about him, it shows that you're really digging him, and vice versa. You remember the things about a person that you really like and love, whether it's little, big, or in between. So he's not going to ask you, do you remember, to see if you have bad memory. He's going to ask you, do you remember, to gauge and see how much you truly pay attention to him and truly like him. Another question that a man who is interested in you is going to ask you is, what made you like me in the first place? What about me do you like and want in your life and want to be a part of? A lot of men will ask you these type of questions because a lot of men do not get a lot of compliments. So there are plenty of men in this lifetime who go throughout their lifetime without receiving a lot of compliments, without getting a lot of pats on the back. So they just go through life thinking they're just, okay, basic, doing what they're supposed to do as a man. So they're wondering why you, the beautiful queen you are to them, almost perfect in their eyes, your majesty, what you want with them and why you want to spend the rest of your life with them. It is also good to hear reinforcement. And he just may be seriously curious as to why you like him in the first place. So don't take this question as a silly question. He truly wants to know. Another interesting specific question that a man who is interested in you will ask you is, is there a reason why you always do that? Why do you keep doing that? You have a habit of doing that. Why is that? Now, this could be a good thing or a bad thing. If you are a woman who does an annoying thing or a pesky thing or have a weird habit, he's going to ask you why you do this thing. Now, that thing may be a part of who you are. It could be a part of your personality, but this is just a way for him to get to know you, your little quirks and all, and a way to dive into your mind to figure out why you're doing this thing. Now, the reason why I say this may be a good thing or a bad thing is because it may annoy him or he may find it weird, but it could be a good thing because maybe you're doing this thing that's always beneficial to him. And he's wondering why you're doing this so much for me. He wants to know the reason behind your habits, the things that you constantly do. But at the end of it all, this question is a good way to figure out who you are. So try not to take this personally. Maybe he's not trying to be annoying or trying to roast you. And it could be a moment of self-evaluation, like, why do I do this thing? Another question. This is a more structured, thought-provoked question. But a man who is interested in you may ask you, if I was to ask your ex your worst trait, what would he say? Now, your man may ask you this in a joyful sense or playing around, like, probably laugh a little bit. But behind all that, he's serious. First of all, he wants to see if you're accountable, just like the first question. He wants to see if you're able to evaluate yourself in an honest manner. He wants to see if you're able to look at thyself and be open to working on yourself. He wants to see if that's possible with you. One of the worst things you could do is be in a relationship with someone or be with someone who sees themselves as perfect. Like they can do no wrong. Like this is it and this is what you're going to stick with. And if you can't handle it, you got to go. Nobody wants to hear that, man. No man wants to hear that. If you're open to self-development, that's sexy. If you're open to becoming a better person so that your relationship can become better, that's hot. If you have no stop in your personal grind, and in him asking, what would your ex say your worst trait is? If he's really down for you and really wants the best for you, he's willing to help you with that thing. That's just what real men do. And now I'm gonna give y'all a sixth one. This is like an extra. It's not as serious as the other ones, but it does have meaning. The question is, are you always on that phone? Why are you always on that phone? Can you please put your phone away when you're with me? A man who is truly into you, interested in you, may ask you these type of questions because he wants all of you. When y'all have moments together, he wants you. He doesn't want any distractions in between y'all. He doesn't want anything, any hindrance in y'all communication. When he is with you, he wants all of you. Therefore, that means he wants all of your attention because he's giving you all his attention. He wants it to be mutual. Yes, it can be a sign of jealousy, but at the same time, if you're not with a jealous guy, it may be a reflection of your manners because being on the phone with someone, especially your man, can be pretty rude. If he's trying to have a real conversation with you, spend time with you, have an intimate moment with you, he wants all of you. So yes, that question is directly speaking on an item, a device, but it's way deeper than that. I hope y'all enjoyed my video today. And like I said, if you were asked any of these questions by You're a Good Guy, talk about it in the comment section below. Let me know, all right? Thank you for watching your guy, Sealz the Man, and I will see y'all in my next video. Peace and blessings. Goodbye.